Welcome to the Friday Casebook. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Lena. How are you doing?
Good. Although, there was so many news about the vaccine delay.
We can't wait for those vaccines to come. Where are they? Where are the
Yeah,
vaccines?
I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at that story first. AstraZeneca, of course, in the news, but it's not the only producer. But AstraZeneca is the one that the European Union gave hundreds of millions of euros to last year, with the expectation that they would be available for distribution in the first quarter in Europe. The head of AstraZeneca, that wasn't his understanding. It reminds me of some of these sort of stories between teachers and their school kids, when the school kids turn up and say, the dog ate my homework. He didn't try the dog ate my homework. He didn't try even wilder excuses. I remember there was a story last year about a man in a park in Berlin. He was a naturist and he lost his laptop. And people said, "Where's your laptop?" He said, "It's a wild boar has run off with my laptop." I mean, that's like the dog ate my homework. That's like we spent the money for vaccines on something else. But in fact, sometimes these strange stories are actually true. We have photographic evidence of the man running after his laptop in the park in Berlin. But the EU Commissioner, Stella Kyriakides, wants to run after her vaccines. And quite rightly, there she is giving a press conference yesterday, giving the cold stare, quite rightly, the angry stare, good for her, and saying, "Where are my vaccines? Where are my vaccines, AstraZeneca?" You couldn't make it up, really, could you? I mean, it is really actually quite disappointing, and let's hope they can resolve this quickly.
Apart from that, what else caught your eye?
Well, we've been talking a lot about Europe, we've been talking about a lot about the United States, but there are other parts of the world that we need to think about too. And one of the regions of the world that has sort of come to life again in terms of news since Biden's election, almost as if they were waiting for Biden to be elected, is China, which has started flexing its muscles again. Here's a map showing China and Taiwan. I think this is a map that was made in Taiwan.
Yeah, I think so too.
But China are like the bit worse than the noisy neighbor as far as Taiwan is concerned, particularly this week where they've been flying warplanes over just to kind of make their presence felt. It's a bit like somebody turns up on your doorstep, knocks on the door, the bailiffs have come round, you open the door and there's a sort of tank in the street. It's rather scary. But I don't know how real the threat is. China say it's one country, two systems, like they said with Hong Kong. But I think they want to see how far Biden will go when they act in a more provocative way. They're just testing the waters, really, with the Biden regime. Remember, we talked about the gap between rhetoric and action. What is Biden going to do? So I don't think China are about to invade Taiwan, but they're flexing their muscles and they're testing the Biden regime, and we're going to see more of that. We're going to see that to the east of China in relation to Taiwan and the South Pacific. We're also going to see it to the west, where China has a long border with India. And of course, last summer there were skirmishes in which some Indian soldiers lost their lives. And again now, over exactly where the border is between India and China. And there are the Chinese soldiers and the Indian soldiers eyeballing each other. And of course, the border is in dispute. There's no wall there between China and India, but there is a dispute about exactly where the line is, which side of the line those soldiers are standing on is obviously in dispute there. But there's a much more serious dimension to this as well, which is that both India and China have nuclear arms. And I think there are understandable fears about nuclear proliferation. Again, I think that's going to be another challenge that Biden faces. He has extended the START treaty with Putin for another 5 years, but I think this is something we need to be concerned about. And the other thing we need to be concerned about, particularly in relation to China and India, we often only talk about this in relation to Russia, is disinformation. There's an excellent organization called EU Disinformation Lab that has uncovered a lot of information about a disinformation campaign by India in the EU. So it's not just COVID, it's not just climate change, it's not just the economic recession, it's not just Putin we need to worry about. We need to worry about what's happening between China and India. We need to worry about disinformation campaigns from China and from India too. And when I was born 60 years ago, China had a population of 500 million, and so did India. And today, China has a population of 1.4 billion, just under 1.5 billion, 1.5 billion, 3 times the size it had 60 years ago. And the same is true of India. So we need to keep these regions of the world on our radar.
Who's on the naughty step?
Well, on the naughty step this week, I mean, a late arrival, I have to say, on the naughty step, in my view, should have been there a long time ago, was the man who wanted to be president. And I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg. Apparently, according to Vanity Fair, he wanted to be the next president of the United States. And remember, he was going to start a series of town hall meetings and so on. But that was before a lot of information started to come out, and we knew about the Cambridge Analytica problems in 2016, the disinformation that led to Brexit, that led to Trump's election, and Facebook's role in that. That's been very well exposed, and that's just continued throughout the Trump presidency. And somebody needs to call Facebook, somebody needs to call this man to account. And it's all very well that a week before Trump stopped being president, Trump's Facebook account was suspended by Facebook, but perhaps that should have happened much sooner. Of course, Zuckerberg was called to account over Cambridge Analytica and over other problems with disinformation. That took the smile off his face when he had to face the Senate committee. We need to understand how powerful platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram are, Twitter. There's a part of the American legal system called Section 230, which regulates the online world. And if that is repealed, it would mean that Facebook would be liable for lies and disinformation and libelous statements and so on Facebook. And that would make a big change, a necessary change in my view.
What else grabbed your attention this week?
Well, I don't want to be morbid about this, and we want to be cheerful on the Friday Casebook, but I mean, we have, of course, lost a number of celebrities this year already, and some of them to COVID, and we don't normally talk about that on this program, but I want to make an exception for one man who died this week, whose name is Rémy Julien. So you might think he was a French racing driver, and you'd be wrong. He was a French stuntman. Who risked his life over many decades in so many different situations to give enjoyment to people who watch films, in particular James Bond films. Now, I'm not personally a great fan of James Bond films. I don't know if you're a fan of James Bond films or who your favourite James Bond is, Lena, but perhaps you're not so keen on James Bond yourself. But I am keen on Rémy Julien because I think he's done just such an incredible job. All those scenes that we remember seeing. I remember when I was a member of Parliament, there was the one of James Bond films was being made that required Rémy Julien to come out of the MI6 building, the Secret Service building, on the side of the Thames, just to the south of the House of Commons, in a speedboat. They come flying out of a window of the MI6 building straight into the Thames as part of a boat chase scene. And MI6 were reluctant to allow the film crews in to make this part of the film for this James Bond film. So they came to the Foreign Secretary, Robin Cook, at the time, and I was Parliamentary Private Secretary in the Foreign Office, and I knew Robin Cook very well. And they said to Robin Cook, can you override the decision of MI6 so that they can make the James Bond film? And Robin Cook said, well, after everything that James Bond has done for Britain, I think we should allow to make. So he did give permission, but but James Bond, it wasn't really James Bond in that speedboat. It was Remy Julien, and I think we should salute him. When asked about how he managed to do all these stunts, he said, well, they said, don't you feel afraid? And he said, yes, I feel afraid before, and you can feel afraid before the act, and you can feel afraid after the act, but you mustn't feel afraid during the act. And I think that's probably very good advice, not just for being a stuntman, but for life in general. So we say goodbye to Remy Julien.
And we need to thank him for the quote of the week, I guess. Let's take a quick look ahead. What's coming up?
Well, we were talking about the vaccines that haven't turned up yet, and I think viewers of the Friday Casebook will be aware that the Conference on the Future of Europe has also gone absent without leave. So citizens are doing it for themselves. We've heard about the Europe Future Fringe, we've heard about Citizens Take Over Europe, and now next week we have the launch of the Convention on the Future of Europe. A huge platform bringing all the different initiatives together to talk about the future of Europe, how we can better look after the challenge of looking after Europeans' health. So the politicians are still haggling and arguing over who should be the president of the official convention. But meanwhile, citizens are getting together to make their voices heard about what should happen next in Europe, and good for them.
Thank you very much, Roger, for these insights. And the audience, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and see you next week.
Remember to look at our website for all the details on neweuropeans.net. Thanks, Lena, and see you all next week.